I think Vienna was 100, roughly until 100 years ago, for a period of time, was the Silicon Valley. In natural science, in physics, in medicine, in the arts, Vienna was a leading.
Welcome to the Strategy Show. I'm your host, Severino. We are today here with Thomas Seifert, Deputy Editor-in-Chief of the Wiener Zeitung. Founded in 1703, it's the worldwide oldest newspaper, right now still in print, 2018. Welcome, Thomas.
Hello, how are you doing?
Perfect. What are you currently creating and why?
Well, difficult question, at the same time an easy one. I'm currently creating a newspaper every day. Of course, not me, a whole team. I'm part of a team. Newspaper is a teamwork, but that's what I'm creating every day. Yeah, so it's a daily grind, going to the office, seeing what the news is today, and trying to put it in print, trying to put it online. So that's what I'm creating every day.
Why do you do this and not something completely different?
Well, it's a good question. I would answer it that way. Let me try it that way. I think it has to do with my biography. Actually, I studied biology, plant physiology, and I'm quite a scientific person, I would say. Science is still interesting to me. But then 1989 happened when I was a young guy. I was born in 68, so I was in my early 20s. So it's quite a formative period in your biography. And the Berlin Wall came down. And suddenly this Austria, where I'm living today, suddenly was from this peripheral country in the eastern flank of Europe, suddenly in the center. The Iron Curtain came down. So what happened is that a good friend of mine, Fridolin Krausmann, who is a biologist today at the BOKU in Vienna, a university professor, and me, we went to Prague to celebrate with these Czech people the New Year's Eve, 89-90, which was probably one of the most crazy parties, New Year's Eve parties I ever had, because people were out on Wenzelsplatz in Prague, and they knew this is not a new year, this is a new era beginning, this is a new dawn. It's completely different from 89. The year 1990 will be totally different from 89. So. And we felt that, both my friend Fridolin and me, we felt that, so we want to be part of that story. So we went and had probably the greatest New Year's Eve of our lives, because we understood that, yes, this is what New Year is all about. It's like, it's something new. And it was very new. So, of course, I mean, there was turbulent years after. Then, by the way, after Prague, we went to Romania to help with the distribution of aid with the Red Cross. So that brought us in touch with a country. This is, by the way, wonderful. It's now part of the European Union, of course, Romania. But then when we went there, it was like going back to my grandmother's time. I remember my late grandmother. I came back and I told her, listen, this was amazing. I think I was in your youth, because we were living with a family. There were the ducks on the street. They were sitting, and the women were weaving and were creating like knitting pullovers and things, and were having a lifestyle I think that my grandmother probably had. So that was I thought also another kind of, I think, a quite impressive travel for me, because it was like going back in time to my grandmother's days. And of course, if you go now to Bucharest or Romania, things have changed completely. And I think that is what ultimately brought me. I decided, okay, this is what's happening in our lifetime. History is taking place. History is taking place right in front of our eyes. And, why not trying to get the front seat of what's going on in your life? And I think journalism still is, and of course always was, one of the professions where you have a front row in the theater of history, if you wish.
You still like to travel? I see Burning Man on your wrist.
Oh yeah.
How does that come?
Okay. I think we all look for inspiration, and inspiration is a big part of my life. I like to dance, as you know, contemporary dance. I like to go to dance performances. I love museums. I love art. I love theater. I love all sorts of things. And the I was at Burning Man now for a second time, and it's a festival in the Nevada desert where a lot of people go to look for inspiration in their life. A lot of Silicon Valley types go there. It's close to, not too far from San Francisco, so a whole bunch of people goes there, and they like to create stuff. There's lots of art. There's music there, and that's like a festival where basically anything goes, and also there is no money during that festival. So it's basically what it is. I think it's like a better test lab for an alternative life, which for instance the whole week I didn't touch a single dollar. I mean, I didn't use money because...
How do you exchange?
The only thing that you can buy actually is ice, frozen water to cool things down in the hot desert, and coffee, but I'm not a coffee drinker, so I didn't use that. So you bring everything there, and it's a huge experiment of 70,000 people bringing in all they need. And then there's one of the principles is leave no trace. So like after everybody has left, the desert, the Black Rock Desert in Nevada is empty again. Nothing there. Finished. There's nothing. It's like an endless empty desert. And that is, I think, what's also interesting. If you think of it, like it's a big laboratory of 70,000 people coming from all over the planet to this gathering, exchanging their ideas, and then leave again. And then next year, many of them come back. And again, the inspiration you find is, of course, it's the experience in the desert. It's everybody has LED stuff on at night because you want to see where other people are because it's pitch dark. There is these music trucks going on. There's 24/7. There's seminars on all different sorts. There's an observatory. You can watch the stars. So I think it's like a condensed experience of what's possible in life in 1 week. And I met one guy he works for Universal Pictures for the all these special effects, and you meet all sorts of different people. One person was in politics in the past in San Francisco and so on. So yeah, it's a very inspirational thing. But again, in Vienna, there's a lot of inspiration to be found in the museum, in arts, and of course also in exchange with colleagues, going to all sorts of talks. We need that. We need input.
You have the hypothesis that Silicon Valley before Silicon Valley was Vienna.
Yeah, I think so. I think Vienna was roughly until 100 years ago, for a period of time, was the Silicon Valley. If you think of it in natural science, in physics, in medicine, in the arts, Vienna was leading, and a lot of new ideas came from this city. If you think of, for instance, Sigmund Freud until today, I mean, psychoanalysis is the issue, and in arts, Klimt, Schiele, Vienna modernism. That's I think if you look at the paintings, if you look at the art, it's as modern and timely as it is today. And by the way, if you ever have the chance, people who ever watch this segment, if you come to Vienna, go to Michaelerplatz. That's my favorite place in Vienna because you see the old Roman excavations. Vienna was called Vindobona, and they had wine. And of course, the Roman soldiers also, I think being a soldier was always, I think, either too boring or either too exciting. I think this very extreme job. So they may want to make sure that they have access to good wine, and Vienna had wine until to this day it has good wine. So you see the Roman excavations, which is the foundation of the city, of course, on the Danube, was an important strategic place. And you have the Loshaus. Adolf Loos was a famous architect. The house is very modern. And on the other side, you have parts of the Hofburg Palace where the emperor resided, and this this part of the palace is from the 1890s, and the Loshaus is from, I think, was finished in around 1911. So within 20 years. If you see the palace, it's like a typical, Viennese kind of very golden, kind of almost a neo-Baroque style of building, ornamental, lots of gold, and then you have this this very simple and very straightforward, almost like the Helmut Lang, who was later in fashion, like a very straightforward design, very reduced house, the Loshaus on the other side of this place. And then I think you see within 20 years, everything changed. And that is, I think, what that we should look for in history. There are basically you always think, okay, in history, the next day will be pretty much the same like yesterday. And then you have periods where everything's changed radically, where tomorrow is a completely new reality. And I think in these days you had this, of course, because there was a lot of things going on, and definitely tomorrow was always different than yesterday in this era.